Bang & Olufsen's new Beolab 28s are amongst the best loudspeakers available in the world at any price. Now, if that comes as a bit of a shock to you, may I respectfully suggest that you haven't actually heard them playing to their full potential. This video aims to fix that by giving you the 6 essential tips that you need to ensure that your Beolab 28s give you world-class sound. Please come and join me and I will explain everything. If you're new to the channel, I'm Steve from Sounds Heavenly. My day job is helping people to connect and get the best from their Bang & Olufsen speakers. So if you've got any questions at all, please drop me a line at soundsheavenly.com and I'll be happy to help. Right, let's dive straight in. Tip number 1, stand the speakers on the floor. Now, I agree, they look amazing when they're wall mounted, but this video is about sound quality, and I believe in 90% of cases, Beolab 28s sound best on their floor bases. Now, this is for 2 reasons. Firstly, they can be easily moved and turned to the best listening position, and secondly, this gives them in most cases a more solid mounting to avoid unwanted vibration. The exception to this is where you have a very flexible suspended floor which sounds hollow or moves when you tap on it or walk on it, and that can interfere greatly with the sound. So in this case, I'd suggest wall mounting the speakers, but ensure that you get a very competent local installer to look at the wall mounting, and instead of just mounting them over your plasterboard, make sure that you cut through and you, if needs be, use wooden blocks to securely mount the subwoofer directly to the load-bearing part of the wall with no vibration or movement possible. And this way you can get good sound on the wall. Tip number 2, arrange the room around your speakers. Don't arrange the speakers around your room. Now, if you have Beolab 28s at home, you're in the small and very fortunate group of people who have access to the world's best music reproduction systems. So don't squander this. In the same way as I wouldn't recommend drinking champagne through polystyrene cups, I would suggest that you don't add the speakers where you have space for them. You choose your favourite listening chair, you clear the furniture from the room if necessary, and you place the speakers so that when looked from above, they form a triangle with all 3 sides the same length between the 2 speakers and your listening chair. So for the mathematicians out there, I'm talking an equilateral triangle. This isn't my suggestion, this is Bang & Olufsen's own suggestion in the Beolab 28 Technical Sound Guide, which I will link to in the video description. This ensures that the sound from each speaker reaches you at exactly the same time. This is something that we don't consciously determine, but our ears are really sensitive to this. And it ensures that you get the best stereo image and that you hear the performers in the positions between the speakers that they were intended to be at. Now, you've chosen the listening chair, you've positioned your speakers, you've put back your furniture. Tip 3 is sit in that favourite listening chair and clap your hands. And have a listen to the echo. Now, this should be a short, sharp snap that tails off immediately after you've clapped your hands. If it becomes a long, boomy echo, then your room is having a major impact on the sound, and not in a good way. Adding extra soft furnishings, for example drapes, curtains, comfortable chairs, can make a huge difference to taming the echo in a room. And this has a huge impact on your music. Once you've done this and you've got that clap sound down to a short, sharp snap, this is the time to run the room compensation process in the B&O app again, ensuring that the room is completely silent while the speakers produce their tones. Now, the speaker electronics can correct for any remaining minor impact that the room is having on the speakers. And with each of these steps we're getting a little bit closer to the ultimate sound that they can give. Tip number 4, now you've got the speakers arranged perfectly and calibrated, take a break. And I would suggest that you play the song Solitude Standing from the album of the same name by Suzanne Vega. Now start with the speakers in narrow mode, which you can set from the B&O app, and wait for the vocals to start. The introduction music will appear to spread across the space between the speakers, but when the singing starts, if you close your eyes, you should be able to hear Suzanne Vega standing immediately in front of you, directly between the speakers. And if you move your head from side to side, you'll probably sense that her position between the speakers actually moves along with you. And it should be so clear and defined that you feel you could actually reach out and touch her. Now, change the app to wide mode, and immediately you'll feel that that pinpoint accuracy of where she's standing spreads and disperses and disappears. Change back to narrow mode, and immediately with your eyes closed you could picture exactly where she is again. And for this reason, I would suggest that when you're in that listening chair and the speakers are set up right, keep the speakers in narrow mode. They really do give their best performance then. Wide mode is, I would suggest, a compromise for when other people are listening with you. When you want the best sound, choose the best chair and go for narrow mode. So, point number 5. I would say this being a cable person, but cable the speakers to your internet router. Give them a physical Ethernet connection, not Wi-Fi. Now, once you've done this, there's no practical limit on the data bandwidth between the speakers, so you can go into the B&O app and set the audio quality to uncompressed in the product settings section of the app. Now this ensures that you're not compromising on the signal and the data that the speakers receive. Number 6, and finally, this is the big one, getting the sound settings right. Now I can't promise for this one that this will be the best setting for you, as each of us hear sound differently, and our ears and our brains are unique and individual. However, after many happy hours listening to Beolab 28s in numerous locations, these are my suggestions. For music listening, around about 70 decibels in volume, which incidentally, you can get a free sound pressure level app for any smartphone, which will let you hear how loudly you listen to your music, which is actually quite a useful tool. I'm going to suggest around about 70 decibels at my own personal preferred listening volume. I turn off the loudness in the B&O app and leave the Beosonic control wheel to the optimal setting, which is the default. From there I set the treble at 0 and the bass at -2 in the equalizer part of the app. Now for movies, you might want to raise the bass level to 0. But I would suggest that in this case you don't actually go into the positive part of the app for treble or bass, but keep them either at 0 or below. And I'd be interested to know what you think, how you prefer to hear the sound. Now obviously Bang & Olufsen's engineers have spent many hours fine-tuning the sound of these speakers, so my own suggestion is that if you find you need to move the sound settings a long way from their defaults, that may actually indicate an issue either with your room, with the settings elsewhere in your music system, or possibly even a hearing issue that you might already be aware of. But please let me know in the comments what your preferred sound settings are, and it would actually be really useful if you've got one of the free sound pressure level apps on your phone to take a reading and let me know roughly what decibel setting you're listening to your music at. So I'm suggesting around about 70 dB is the volume that I've listened at, but let me know, because with human hearing the way that we perceive sound changes. So if you listen at 90 decibels, you'll probably want a different bass and treble setting to what I've suggested. Now, I hope that this has been helpful and that these suggestions will go some way towards letting you hear these amazing speakers at their very best. But please let me know what you think. If I've missed anything or if I've made a silly mistake here and given the wrong advice, please tell me. I hope that it will convince you to go and have a proper listen to Beolab 28s, or to go through the settings if you already have them and get the best from them. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe and there will be plenty more Bang & Olufsen videos coming very soon.